The 1969 strike by Local 212 transformed Milwaukee Technical College into a world-class two-year college because it gave classroom professionals, for the first time, a decisive role in the direction of the college. But it didn't come easily. First chartered in 1930, Local 212 had fought for teachers' rights and won some battles, but until Wisconsin law changed in 1962, public sector employers like Milwaukee Technical College did not have to bargain with employee unions. Geraldine Marchant, not an MATC teacher but the executive director of the Wisconsin Federation of Teachers at the time, explains.
For many years, teacher groups went and begged from the board for whatever little pittance they could get. But in 1964, collective bargaining for public employees was legalized. And that's why, for example, Bill talks about our actually drawing up a contract, because up to that time there was no such thing as a legalized, formalized contract with issues to be bargained. Bargaining was not the proper word at that time. So obviously there were some people who were against, some people who were for, but what it really did, for MATC, I think, it changed the whole climate of employee-employer relationships. And I think you guys maybe think that that has remained.
The largest faculty hire in the history of the college occurred in the fall of 1968, with almost 50 new faculty joining the ranks. Because Local 212 did not yet have a fair share agreement, teachers had to voluntarily agree to join the union and pay dues. But there were other groups competing to represent faculty, and their criticisms would prove a considerable challenge throughout the labor dispute that was brewing. American Federation of Teachers Local 212 has had many firsts since being chartered in 1930, and with the advent of collective bargaining, Local 212 in 1966 became the first college faculty union anywhere in the United States to successfully negotiate a contract. By '68, the contract was a sparse 12-page document that was won only after 212 had voted to strike if the contract were not approved by MTC administration. This no contract, no work vote convinced union leaders that the membership was unified enough to bargain even more aggressively the following year. So just 6 months after the ink dried on the one-year 1968 contract, 212 President Bill Thomas notified the administration that 212 was ready to negotiate a new agreement. And instead of just proposing a few key changes, as had been the practice in previous negotiations, 212 presented a 39-page document, including 268 changes and additions to the 12-page '68 contract. Earlier in the year, Local 212 leadership had surveyed the membership for recommendations regarding the next contract, and this package included them all.
We put together something which was probably at least 35 or 40 pages long, if I remember, typed out, single space typing, I think, and really astounded the board, the board of the school, when we presented those to that meeting. And I remember one of the members taking the stack, which was about that high, and acting like, what is this for? You know, it weighs so much. But the weight of it was the material in it, not the actual paperweight. And it was from that initial document then that we worked from, and worked on hammering out many of the things that were finally agreed upon. It was largely through Geraldine's help that we were able to get many of those things into some language which eventually became part of the contract. So I want to give her the credit for that.
High on Local 212's list of demands was the concept of shared governance, providing faculty with avenues of input into college-wide decisions by such means as representation on committees, regular meetings between the union and college presidents, as well as meetings between faculty and their associate and divisional deans. In short, the instructors were demanding to be treated as professionals.
Many of the administration that that the teachers were here. You punch your time card and get in and out, and and it was kind of sad to me to see that. I taught for 10 years before that without a time card, and here, when you had to punch the time card, there'd be 20 people lined up, ready to go, just waiting for that bell to ring, saying that everybody could leave.
Could you put enough things in place that you'd have absolute control over the teachers, like making them wait until the exact minute before they can punch out and punch in, and having a lesson plan for each day? And it was as though they were saying, we don't trust you. We don't trust that you can take a week and put out a product that will make your student a better person than he was when he came in there.
We had lunch duty. We had duty in the study hall, which was the C building auditorium. We had to check student cards to make sure they were there. I remember once we had to break up a fight between one of the teachers and a student who didn't want to have his card taken care of. It was undignified, is what it was. To have to take care of kids who were 16, 17 as if they were 6 and 7 year olds was very undignified, as was this whole idea of having to watch over them as they eat. Just stand there, walk around. It was hell.
Despite Bill Thomas giving plenty of advance notice, negotiations during the fall of '68 were slow going. Though 212 got agreement on some matters, including a grievance procedure with binding arbitration for tenured teachers, a concrete dismissal policy, increases in accumulated sick days, and a shorter school calendar. But the administration's team, led by board member George Parkinson and MATC director William Ramsey, refused to address proposals for more professional treatment of faculty or any budgetary items like salary and fringe benefits. Even more frustrating was the lack of bargaining in general.
I remember that fall we must have had meetings, it seemed like every week, at the top floor of Turner Hall there, and everyone had some particular gripe, and we kept getting the message back, they're not listening to our gripe.
In late November, Director Ramsey claimed the college faced a budgetary crisis, and local media picked up the story. He claimed MTC would have to ask the state for an advance of its 1969 funds just to make payroll for '68. But Bill Thomas had seen Ramsey use a similar tactic the year before, so he told the media that the crisis was fabricated in order to discourage any substantial demands for salary increases in the new contract. Tensions escalated among instructors as they questioned their administration's honesty. As of December 8, 1968, the college had given no counteroffer to the union's salary demands, and Ramsey stated that due to budgetary constraints, the union's proposal cannot even be discussed. When the general membership met on December 2nd, Stan Felber, a 212 member who had sat on the bargaining team the previous year, called for a vote to reaffirm the union's no contract, no work pledge. After Felber and former 212 President Maxine Lubenow both spoke in favor, the no contract, no work policy passed with a unanimous vote. With a united front behind them, the 212 Action Committee was formed to organize for the potential strike, complete with subcommittees for internal publicity, media contacts, poster and picket sign creation, research, strategy, and finances. The organizing was exhaustive, but necessary for unity in action. The phone squad, for instance, organized an emergency communication system by designating a hierarchical network of phone captains and squad leaders responsible for contacting specific groups of union members in the event of an important development. When the administration shot down any adjustments in class loads or curriculum development, and wouldn't even discuss fringe benefits, Local 212 began tactically escalating its rhetoric and activities. Teachers hit the picket line on 6th Street for the first time during their lunch hour on December 10th to protest the college's malingering tactics and bad faith bargaining. The college responded quickly with 2 offers during the month of December, neither of which included wage increases that would even keep pace with inflation, and more importantly, neither addressing issues related to educational quality or shared governance. So the union voted by secret ballot to reject the first offer, and Bill Thomas characterized the second as, quote, entirely unrealistic, and submitted a counterproposal that the college refused to consider.
Non-bargaining position that they took shortly before the end of the year, and they were not willing to agree on many of the items that were proposed in the contract, which gave the teachers the right to have more say about the curriculum and what went on in the classroom. We didn't want to take over, we certainly didn't want to take over the running of the school, but we certainly felt that the teachers should be able to have a better voice with their respective dean or associate dean, so that they could express their views on a regular basis. Money was also a factor, but that was not the only thing. We were after many more things, dealing with the ability of the teachers to be able to meet with the dean. The president would meet with the director on a regular basis. I think the time clock was involved in that also. A number of other picky-unit little things which we wanted to get cleaned up.
You know what? Salaries were the easiest thing to get raised in collective bargaining. It was the condition under which teachers were working that was, as you said, the major thing was to be treated as a professional and not like you were an hourly worker or whatever.